My name is Laura, and today I'm going to make falafel. Falafel is the original veggie burger. So, you can start with dried chickpeas, or you can get a can of chickpeas. I prefer the can because it keeps forever, already cooked, simple. So what I would like to do first, with really anything that comes in a can, but usually beans are what I'm using from a can, so I always give them a rinse, get any ickiness off of them, and the sodium. You can get rid of a ton of the sodium by rinsing. So I'm going to let those drain a little bit, and in the meantime I'm going to get out my food processor, because I'm going to use, actually I'm not going to use a food processor. Am I going to use a food processor? Yes, I'm going to get a food processor out, and that's in my closet here. Okay, so I have my food processor, and these are absolutely necessary in a kitchen. I actually have two. I have my big one to make larger batches of things. When I'm making a huge bunch of salsa, a huge thing of pesto, I take out my big one. But for smaller jobs I have a small one. But really indispensable in the kitchen. Just you gotta have one. So let's get this plugged in, and it's just really super simple. Take the chickpeas and just dump them in there. Now, what I do a lot of times, it turns out I don't always have everything for a recipe, and sometimes I don't like components of a recipe, and I go with another recipe. And I really encourage everyone to do that. If you see one thing you like about something in one recipe, use that component. If there's something from another recipe for the same dish, use that component. And you know, if you're in the mood for Italian, you can make these falafels more Italian by using Italian seasonings instead of Middle Eastern seasonings. It's so easy to, just with seasonings, bring out flavor and really transport you to maybe another country, another place, bring back memories. Just food is such an emotional thing. I think for many people, you know, for me at least, when I go to another country, one of the things I am most excited about always is the food. Just give me the food. So my pantry is stocked right now, but my bin of aromatics, empty. I'm out of garlic. Used the last of my garlic 2 nights ago. And I'm out of onions, so I'm using just a little bit of the dried onion powder, and since this is just going to get all chopped up, it should be fine. I mean, we'll find out, right? And I'm even out of garlic powder, but I've got garlic salt, so instead of using garlic and salt, I'm just going to use the garlic salt. And it does call for 1.5 teaspoons of salt, so I can add a decent amount of this. Just about a teaspoon. I don't want it too salty. And cumin. I go through this like crazy. Just like crazy. So I'm going to put some of this in. It calls for, the recipe I'm using calls for 2 teaspoons. I'm going to use 2 teaspoons. So actually even going to take the lid off of this to get it out. One thing for measuring, I tend to eyeball everything, unless I haven't made the recipe before, in which case I'll measure. But this I'm eyeballing. Coriander. I'm going to use a half teaspoon. Ground coriander. Coriander's almost sweet. In fact, a lot of times people put it into sweets, and I'm a huge fan. This is one thing that I do with a lot of my my cooking is mixing savory and sweet, taking things that are normally savory, adding a little bit of sweet to it. Adding nutmeg in with a spinach dish. Chocolate into a mole sauce. And then adding savory to sweet, bacon in chocolate. That's just all-star. So I've got those in. I'm also going to put in just a little bit of flour, just a tablespoonful to help bind it together just a little bit. So, just gonna, if you're measuring for baking, use a real tablespoon, not the tablespoon from your kitchen drawer, but this I'm just eyeballing. So, everything's put together into the food processor. So the chickpeas are going to mash everything together pretty good. You know, I'm also going to put in just a hint of baking soda. The recipe calls for it. Calls for half teaspoon. That's about a half teaspoon. So all my spices are in, and looks like that's it. So we're just going to give this a pulse. Smells terrific, but I am going to add a little bit more parsley, a little bit more. I want a 1/4 cup fresh. I'm also going to add a little bit more onion. It needs just a little bit more flavor, I think. Tiny bit more garlic. I really wish I had my garlic. And you know what? Yeah, a little bit more cumin, because that's what we taste when we taste waffle. It's at least what I think. So put that in the pulse on. See how this consistency is. Yeah, that's nice and sticky. I'm gonna that's good. I'm gonna give it a couple more pulses. fry these up. So while we're waiting for the oil to come to a good temperature, I am going to form them into the patties. Frying pan here. Use a big frying pan. One thing that's really important to do, and a lot of people, oh, I don't want to wash a big pan. Okay, you know what? It takes the same to wash a big pan as a small pan. And a big pan definitely is better for cooking. If you use a pan that's too small, you make a mess. You make a mess all over the stove. And then food that you want to be crispy is going to end up being, it gets steamed if the food's too close to each other. So I put my cookbook away. Don't need that anymore, and I'm going to put my seasonings and spices away. Give ourselves room. Just like food needs room in its cooking vessel, we need room in our kitchen to cook. So I'm going to get these all put away. And good. And my coriander. I love my coriander. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, because this is kind of a sticky mess that I've got here, this paste, and paste is sticky, so I've got my roll pat here. That's going to help, and I'm also going to get just a little bowl of water so I can keep my hands moist while I'm doing this to keep them from sticking. And I'm also going to get a plate to put these on. Now, this called for making patties, but last night I had some falafel balls. And actually my favorite Middle Eastern restaurant makes falafel balls. So that's what I'm going to do. Because it will be like I'm being transported back to my favorite Middle Eastern restaurant. And you know, you tend to do what you're used to, what you like. If you're used to patties, make patties. But yeah, I'm gonna make some balls. That way I can also, control my portions more, Instead of, you feel like you have more if you had, instead of half of one patty, you feel, oh, I've only had half. 2 meatballs. I mean, or 2 falafel balls. So, just taking out little balls. See? Just roll them on up. And when you make them like this, it can end up being like make an appetizer. Let's see, it looks like it's dry and crummy in here. Make this one a little smaller, but you can see it does form nicely into balls. It sticks together nicely. So just keep rolling these into balls. There we go. So the recipe said that it was going to make only 4 patties, but as you can see, I am well on my way to making at least 8 balls. So funny thing about falafel, and really a lot of Middle Eastern food, is when I first started dating Bruce, I don't think he had ever had falafel. His daughter had never had falafel. And they keep telling me they don't like this, they don't like that. Oh, I think they told me they didn't like chickpeas. Yeah. I knew that they just didn't know that they liked chickpeas. So, one night I made falafel. I made a mix. Now, I know better now that who needs a mix when you can make it on your own? I mean, hello? How easy was this? Right? The hard part is in the cooking, and with the mix you still have to do the cooking. This you can control the seasonings a little bit more. Now some things, for me, cake. It's got to come from a mix. I cannot make cake. It's sad, really. But I think it's because I'm not real accurate with my cooking. I tend to go all over the place, apparently. Anyway, so back to this falafel meal I made. So I made falafel from a mix, and I just called them veggie burgers, right? Little lie. Okay, vegetarian burger, because not really any veggies in here, but so I made that. I made a little hummus on the side. Got some pita breads, whole wheat no less, and made this delicious Middle Eastern meal, very reminiscent of meals I've had at Mamoun's, my favorite Middle Eastern restaurant. And you know what? My family ended up loving them. So, normally cook in olive oil. I'm actually going to cook in canola for this because it has a more mild flavor. I don't want the olive oil to mix with too much with the taste of the awesome falafel. So these are small. Just might be able to fit them all in. Yeah. So you want the oil to be a little bit hot and bubbling. Yeah, that's good. So that they crisp up on the outside. They don't end up soaking in all the oil. If you pop these into cold oil, you're going to end up getting a really greasy falafel, and the oil is going to soak right into them, and there goes having a healthy meal, right? So there's space between all of these falafel balls. I'm going to turn the heat down just a smidge, and I'm going to get out my splatter screen. Hopefully this is big enough. These splatter screens are awesome when you don't want to steam what you're cooking, but you want to keep from getting the kitchen too messy. They're necessary. So, while that is going on, I'm going to clean up my mess here, and you see this? Really? Could it be more simple to clean up? A little advertising for tomorrow at home. There. And there goes Duke. I don't know what he's barking at this point. So they sound like they're cooking up really good in there. I'm going to make sure that they are, and grab my contour with non-stick. I love non-stick cookware. Really love non-stick cookware. But you have to make sure you have the tools to work with the non-stick cookware. oh, makes me crazy when my guy is, oh yeah, there we go. When he uses metal utensils, it just really makes me crazy. Okay, these are falling apart just a little bit, so I'm going to actually employ the use of spatula. I think that might help me a little bit. I use a combination of spatula, yeah, and the tongs. There we go. That's going to work a little bit better. So you can't see, so just trust me on this, but we're getting a nice crispy coating on the outside of these. Now, the ones I had last night were deep fried. Yeah, that's, I think that's how they normally are done. I'm going to try to keep these slightly healthier by just frying them in a little bit of oil. But yeah, they're getting nice and crispy. Yeah. So pop this back on. There you go. And the other day I made something really delicious that is also a Middle Eastern food, and it employs all of a lot of the vegetables that we have in our garden, and actually things that we have a lot of: cucumbers and look at this, we've got plum tomatoes, your standard small beefsteak, cherry tomatoes. When was the last time you saw a cherry tomato? They're now all grape tomatoes. And the funny thing about these tomatoes is we never buy them. We never bought seeds to grow them or plants to grow them. And they popped up in our garden this year. We were like, it couldn't have come seeds from the compost pile. We didn't buy seeds. We didn't buy plant. How did we get them? Bruce had taken some dirt from his old garden that his sister plants in, and she plants cherry tomatoes. Thanks, Brenda. I told Bruce last night, and I'll tell you now, those are the best tomatoes I've ever had. And definitely the best tomatoes we've ever grown. And it was an accident. I just, you know, love happy accidents. Really love happy accidents. Oh, that's really cool. So, get all this stuff out of the way and check to see if we're ready to flip these guys again. Yeah. Oh, man, these smell excellent. Smells so good. So yummy. Yeah, flip these on their side. I think the only way for these to keep their shape is to deep fry them. So, you know, mistakes happen. And I know I said I didn't want to make patties, but guess what? Just flatten these out. Okay, so I've flattened them out now. So they're going to be mini patties, which is fine, I think. Yeah. Yeah, let these crisp up a bit. Okay, so since I went with that, I am not going to need these anymore. Put those in the sink to wash later. And that happens all the time with cooking. You can start going in one direction, end up in another direction. It just happens sometimes. So I decided that these balls needed to be flattened, you know? Hey, happens in life too. Sometimes balls need to be flattened. So I'm pretty excited about this, and I'm excited for my lunch. So let's see. Yeah, since I flattened them, I'm going to flip them. Because they're going to cook a little bit more quickly now, I think. They don't fall apart. Oh, yeah. These are almost done. So I'm looking at these and I'm flipping them and I'm thinking to myself, don't make things from a mix if you can make them homemade. And you'll see when I plate this up that maybe the falafel burgers are something that I should stick to a mixer. Because this is now kind of turning into one great big patty. So I've gone from balls to mini patties to one great big patty that is soaking up all that oil that I said I didn't want to soak up. If I fail with this, it's one 60-cent can of chickpeas down the drain. Big deal. I'll feed it to the chickens, right? So let's let that keep cooking, and we'll listen to the dog, and I'll drink some of my drink. Now you see, today I'm wearing an apron, and I really do normally wear an apron when I cook. And I sometimes wear the apron just all around the house. And I make sure when I get aprons, I have a collection that I like them with big pockets. You can find either big pockets here. Sometimes there's just a big one right in the center. They're great when you go out to the garden. I mean, look, you can fit everything in here. A couple peppers. You can load the pockets up. It's terrific, terrific. If you're wearing something nice and not disgusting workout clothes, it helps protect your clothes. If you don't have your towel nearby, there's your towel. Okay, let's see what these look like. I'm going to actually take this splatter screen off because I think I'm pretty much done here. Yeah. So, since they did soak up a ton of oil, I am going to, they're going to have to drain. So, okay, some of these turned out okay. You know, sometimes my food isn't the prettiest, but I'll tell you what, these look like they're going to taste pretty good. They smell like they're going to taste pretty good.